they'll come back. Okay, I just got to do a few formalities. My name's Andrew McKenna. I'm the founder of the African Turf Academy. I started this interview series in the beginning of the lockdown just to engage with the turf industry around the world and the golf industry in general. So I really appreciate everyone who's been tuning in and joining us. David, a very well-respected man in the world of golf. And before, I'm not going to go too much into your past yet. I'm going to let you do that. But before we start, just going to fire some quick questions at you. Augusta or St Andrews?
St Andrews.
Okay. And I know you've lived in Augusta, so you've been familiar with that. Jack or Tiger?
Tiger.
Okay. You're the first one who said that for a while. And wine or beer?
Wine.
Wine. Okay. All right. So thanks very much for joining us. Thanks for giving us your time. I know you're a busy man. I just want to understand, the whole idea of this was just to give the guys of the African Turf Academy and the industry who's got involved some idea of the vast opportunities in the golf industry around the world. And I wanted to hear from you how you got into the golf industry, how you got into the turf industry, and your career path and where it's taken you. We can start with how you got into it.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think like a lot of people, I got into it by accident. I don't know that there's that many people, particularly maybe on the greenkeeping side of people, you know, they want to be in greenkeeping and they choose to go that way. But I think on the outside of things, a lot of people get in here by accident. Are you getting an echo? Are you okay?
I'm fine.
Okay, good. I get a little echo, but it's fine. So yeah, I mean, my history was I did A-levels. I was then due to go to university, and I decided not to. I went to actually I worked in Kenya for 2.5 years.
Okay.
Building schools and hospitals and stuff like that on a voluntary basis, which I loved. Signed up 6 months, came 2.5 years later. And at the end of that, I started a small business with a friend of mine, Dave Watson, and we were serving cars, you know, mechanics and sort of technical people. Did a little bit of machining and painting and stuff like that as well. And we ended up doing a lot of work with Charterhouse Turf Machinery, who were the vertical drainage quarters for the UK. And actually ended up selling that company to Charterhouse Turf and went to work for them.
Okay.
So demonstrator for seeders, breakers, aerators, birdie drains, that kind of stuff, for 2 or 3 years, and then joined Jake as a salesman in '92. And then had a variety of roles within Jacobsen, and ended up as Managing Director of Ransomes Jaconsen in 2003, and then as President of Jake 2011, and then I left there at the end of 2016, early 2017.
Okay.
Yeah, I started business here as Zeki.
So what do you think you did so well in your career to make you move through the ranks into such a senior position?
So it's interesting.
You're allowed to blow your own trumpet.
Well, no, it's difficult a little bit, but I think I always focused on what I thought was best for the business and not on my own career. Okay. I always felt like if I did the right thing for the business, that in the end the company would look after me and I'd be rewarded for doing that. Okay. I think I've seen too many people who focus too much on their own career. You know, you get a lot of people these days who say, you've got to map your own career, you've got to drive it, you've got to be in charge of your own career. I don't know that's always true. I think if you're in a good organization, if you do what's right for the company, in the end, and there might be a lag between these things happening, in the end you will be rewarded for that. And so I like to think that I always focused on what I thought was best for the company, and that in the end, you know, promotion would come from that. I think I also always used to look at it, you know, you get some people who will kind of look at things and say, well, that's not, you know, that's not my job to do that. I've never taken that approach. I've always thought that if you want to be promoted, you've almost got to be looking at what is take the responsibility for the next job, even if you haven't been given it yet.
Okay.
And,
have you got any examples of that?
What would be a good example? I guess even when I was sales director for a while, I spent quite a lot of time in the factory, even at that point, because I thought if I could communicate with the sales, with the factory workers as to what was important to us, what really meant, and what that bolt being tightened up meant to a customer, or that bolt being loose meant to the customer, that you could improve things and make people understand it more. And so even though it was my job to do that, I already had a great relationship with a lot of those guys prior to actually becoming MD and actually being responsible for that. And it was kind of the same with customer care and other areas. I never used to go, well, that's not my job, I'm just sales. I always felt like the more that I could involve myself in other departments, in other areas, and communicate to them what customers, at the end of the day, this is all about customers, so what do customers want?
Yeah,
that would be good. And I think it was that one then, perhaps. And I was lucky. I was in the right place at the right time.
Maybe you made your own luck. But I've heard through, I've been interviewing, I think this is number 21 now, so I've got to speak to quite a lot of great guys in the industry. And one message, again, you're talking about it there, I think, is being able to get involved in all the areas of the business so you understand it as a whole. And maybe the saying, work on the business rather than in the business isn't always right?
Yeah, I've always had a view, if you focus on the customer, what does the customer want? You got to cascade that all the way through the organization. And it doesn't, there's a lot of fluff that goes on, particularly in a big organization. And at the end of the day, you've got to focus on the customers and make sure that what they want is paramount.
Okay. All right. I'm going to come back to your service philosophy and your customer relationships philosophy in a minute, but I want to just go to your switch of role from being the president of Jacobsen to owning your own business now. How big a leap is that, and what are the differences that you've experienced in that massive change? Or it might not be a massive change.
No, it is. It's a very different experience. I loved being president of Jacobsen. That was the best job in the world, and I must admit I thought I'd stay there till I retired. But there was a punctuation point that meant that it was the right time for us to leave, and so we did. I did take time off. I took a good 6 months off directly after that to, kind of get my head in, my head right, if you like, and to move on, because, I spent the first 3 months, I was still thinking, can we get that deal? And, well, hey, it's not your problem anymore, kind of thing. So I took 6 months off before I did that. I enjoy this, it's what we have here is a very clever structure. And for those of you who work for big organizations, I think will quickly appreciate this. The business is majority owned by me, but minority owned by Zeki. And what that means is we're outside of all the corporate controls that would be in place if we were majority owned by IT. And so one of the problems, if you're a small subsidiary of a large parent, is that all the policies, the procedure, legal, HR, and all that, become this huge burden on a small organisation that you really don't want. So the way we've structured this is we're outside of those personal controls. We don't have a lot of that structure and overhead costs that you would otherwise have. We can be very nimble and move quickly, and we'll grow the business. Once the business is of a suitable size, it will become a subsidiary. And I think it's a really smart way of doing it. It allows you, when you're a relatively small organisation, to be outside of those what can be suffocating controls. But once you get to a certain size, you need more of those controls. As you get bigger, you need more of those controls. And so I think what we've done here is a very smart setup. It works for me, it works for Zeki, and I think it's allowed us to be a really nimble, quick organisation. So there's things I love about it. The things that I don't like about it compared to my previous role is I could actually decide what products we were going to develop next. I went to every engineering meeting, every product meeting. I was involved in the product development at Jake, and I missed that. I missed that. I can put an input in, but at the end of the day, it's not my call. You know, at Jake, it's my call, and I love that. And so I missed that. You know, that involvement, if you like, in the product development side of things, which was something that I loved at Jake.
And you've now managed a company in the UK. You've managed a company in the US, and now you're involved in a Japanese company, right? Is it Japanese?
Yeah.
How are those cultures, philosophies different between UK, US, and the Japanese?
Yeah, it's a very. I mean, the Japanese and the Americans could not be more different. The Americans are very knee-jerk in their reactions, generally speaking. They move with very limited data. So small amount of data, they'll make a move and move quickly, which is good. The Japanese typically want more data and take a lot longer to make a decision. When they do it, they tend to do it better.
Okay.
So if I can draw the analogy, let's say
the coronavirus.
Yeah, well, coronavirus would be a good one. But I was thinking on product. You know, we would pride ourselves and say, "Oh, right, we've noticed that this bit's wrong. We're going to change it tomorrow." And then we find that actually by changing that bit, it broke this bit. The Japanese would have done a year's testing before they made that change. Everybody would have been getting mad that they hadn't made this change for a year. But when they did make the change, it's done right.
Okay.
And so there's good and bad both. I mean, the American culture is very much geared to this quarter. You know, Wall Street drives everything. You know, what have you done for me this quarter? What have you done for me this quarter? What have you done? You know, what are you going to do this quarter? Japanese are much obviously more longer term in their view. But there's pluses and minuses with both.
And which way do you run your business now? And which way do you run your business now?
Well, I'd say we are. That's a good question. I'd say we're prepared to move pretty quickly on certain things, but obviously on actually the product development and quality and engineering side of things, we have no input on the speed of that. In terms of us deciding to do stuff, we can do it. We can do it pretty good. And just to add to the confusion here, Andrew, my phone's now going flat. Just give me 2 seconds to call somebody to get out.
Yeah, go for it. All right, guys, I've got lots of nice questions for him. He's answering nicely so far. But I'm looking forward to hearing his answers because he's got obviously thinking differently from some of the other guys we have interviewed. So let's wait for him to come back. Any of you got any questions for David that you want to put up on the screen that I can save for a few minutes? Go for it. He obviously needs a new phone, being flat at 11 o'clock in the morning. Hello, Mayor. Our guest today has just disappeared because his phone's going flat. So stay with us. We'll be going in a minute. Yeah, he's a busy man, I think. Now he can't find his charger, it seems. Any news on when the PGA Tour's starting up again, Mayor? Anyone got any news on who's when golf is starting up in South Africa again? I'm doing well, Chris. Thanks.
Okay, here we go. So I was down to 1% then.
Oh, really?
I thought I'd be using the laptop, so I don't know. So organised.
It's a lot easier being live when someone else is with you than on your own.
Yeah, and they can sort all this kind of crap out. Where were we?
We were talking about the difference in management styles between Japanese companies and American companies and UK companies, and do you operate your which version do you operate your business with?
Yeah, so as I said, I'd say we're somewhere in the middle.
Okay.
You know,
Right,
yeah.
Sorry.
No, carry on.
The other, obviously, a major part of your positions through the years has been leadership. What are your philosophies on leadership? How do you handle that?
You know, I think got some whistles going on in the background. I think
I've got my kids; they're screaming in the back here.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, so I think you've got to be clear in your communications. So, you know, when people talk to me about leadership, I actually think the single most important thing is communication. I don't think you can over communicate. I remember I was at a team leaders group, you know, so I had all the like team leaders from the plants with me, and I was talking to them, and one guy I was just talking to that communication to me was one of the key roles of a leader. And this guy said to me, well, I'm too busy to communicate, I'll communicate when I'm less busy. And I was like, you don't get it. Communication is your job. That communication is the most important part of your job. So I always think that communication is absolutely key. You can't over communicate. We always used to say, once you're bored of saying it, the people you're talking to hear it for the first time. And the other number we used to use was 7. Once you told somebody 7 times, they start to get it.
Okay.
I would communicate and keep it simple. We came up with this 3Ds philosophy at Jaconsen: build relationships with our customers, build great routine, and then back it up for the whole of the business. And it didn't matter if you were just one of our welders or factory workers or whatever. You could understand that. It was a simple message. It was a communicable message. It was one you could remember. I mean, we used to have mission statements, vision statements. Nobody could remember what they were or what they meant or anything like that. If you can't say it in 15 to 20 seconds, you can't remember it and you can't communicate it clearly. So that clarity of communication, that simple message, and get everybody to rally around that is a key point of leadership. But I don't think it's just that. I also think, I always used to say that optimism is key. You don't have to be a extrovert. You can be an introvert, but you can fake it, right? And you might not be feeling optimistic. You might feel that everything's going wrong and it's a disaster and you wish this had never happened. But the reality is you've got to fake it. If you're in a leadership position, you can't be a pessimist. You've got to be optimistic about the future. You've got to have that. You've got to carry people with you, and they're not going to carry. You're not going to carry the people with you if you're moping around and wallowing in sorrow and doom because the coronavirus has arrived or the recession's happened or whatever it happens to be. You've got to be optimistic about it. So that was always one of the key elements for me. I think as well, just more from a managing people point of view, than leadership, and there's two very different things there between leadership and managing people. I think you got to give people direct feedback. Are you doing well? What do you need to do better? And I think that's one of the aspects where you can call it leadership and management, but that idea of directly telling people where they're doing well and where they can improve is great for the morale and the setup of a business, because you want people to improve. You want people every day to do better than they did than they did yesterday.
Yeah.
I think as well, I always used to think that you need to have an inquiring mind in leadership. You need to,
inquiring mind.
yeah, you've got to be able to see things as they could be and not as they are.
Okay.
So if you're looking at a production line, how can you do it better?
Yeah.
What is that? You've got to improve every day. So, one of the things that I always used to like to do, particularly when I was traveling a lot, was I'd look at stuff. I'd be going through an airport and I'd look at how they're doing the queuing and the security and getting people through there. And I'd look at it and go, right, if you're in charge, how would you redesign that to get 15% more people through?
Mm.
And if everything you see, every process you see, you have it in your mind. How do I make it better? How do I improve it? How do I get it to the next stage? How do I, then it becomes more natural to you that when you're walking around the workplace, you're looking for those opportunities. How can I improve? How can I make it better? How can I get things moved on? So I always think that an inquiring mind is it. And the final thing I always think about when I think about leadership is consistency. You can't have it that it's okay for everybody to chuck it on the floor today, but tomorrow you're going to throw a fit at it. If it's wrong, it's wrong, and you've got to be consistent in your messaging, and consistent in what is acceptable and what isn't acceptable. So those are the 5 things that I always think about when I think about leadership: communication, optimism, direct feedback, inquiring mind, and consistency.
And that applies in small businesses, large businesses, entrepreneurs.
Doesn't make any difference.
Yeah, absolutely.
Those are principles of how you lead.
Yeah. Okay. One of the conversations, I haven't met you many times, met you a couple of times. Once was in GIS when you were still in your role at Jacobs, and the other one was most recently in Harrogate. I asked you about the, relating to leadership, is these different structures around the world with, I don't know if you remember the chat, but the job titles, and it's so confusing when you're dealing with on emails, and you get an email from an MD, and you get an email from a CEO, and you get an email from a president or whatever. What is that all about? I still don't understand it. I've got a fair idea. But...
Yeah, some of it is just cultural, right? So the American businesses tend to go for a CEO in terms of the title. There is some underlying reasons for it. So typically, take the UK as an economy, most of the businesses here, the directors would be people who actually worked in the business. So you'd have a board of directors who actually work in the business. You'd have a sales director, a customer care director, HR director, etc., who actually are, workers in the business. And then the boss of that group would be the managing director. In America, it's much more common to have completely independent directors. So the shareholders appoint completely independent directors. They in turn appoint the chief executive to, if you like, carry out the strategy that the board has come up with as appointed by the shareholders. So, there's different setups, different companies, different ways.
And the president role?
Yeah,
where's he in relation to the CEO?
Yeah, in a lot of places, president and CEO go together. Sometimes, just from a corporate governance point of view, they want 2 people in a role. Well, not in a role, but 2 people in leadership positions. So you might have a CEO and a COO, chief operating officer, or you might have a CEO and a president, and therefore you've split the power base. But then in a lot of companies, whilst it was set up that way, over time, it's been merged, and actually a lot of people end up with the title of CEO and president because those roles have been merged together. So often it's around the corporate governance that there is involved.
Okay. All right. Good stuff. From my experience with meeting the personnel who have worked with you, carry on working with you, service is a big driver for you. Scott Forrest, Alan Prickett, those guys, when you meet them, and Nick Brown, who's watching, I think, when you meet those guys, you can really feel that service is a cornerstone of what they're doing. Is that something you implemented, and is something that you continue to do? And how important do you think that is? Service and people relationships.
Yeah, I think it comes back to what we were talking about to begin with, which is You'll never satisfy your shareholders until you delight your customers. And to delight your customers, you've got to give them great service. And so once you keep a real focus on your customer, it tells you where you should work within your business and where you should put your effort, your money and your investment and time. And for customers, service, be that the provision of parts or the provision of technical support, is the key issue. I think, you know, in the industries we serve, nobody makes a bad machine anything. You know, I think mine are the best. I'll totally accept that everybody else has got their own views about theirs, and nobody really makes a bad machine. So a lot of the differentiation that there is out there is how do we look after our customers right the way through the life of that machine. And I think, you know, the provision of spare parts actually is an intellectual exercise in terms of, you know, looking at data and working out what you should hold, what you shouldn't hold, getting supply chains in place, make sure your logistics are in good shape. You know, it's almost an intellectual question. I think once you get to service, there's more emotion involved. I mean, I've said before, I've had technical guys who fixed the machine and broke the customer. And we've got to get people who fix the machine and fix the customer. In fact, fixing the customer is in fact more important than fixing the machine. And so that focus on, it's almost like the difference between a feature and a benefit. You know, the feature is I fixed your machine. The benefit is I fixed my customer. And you've got to make sure you fix the customer. And a lot of this is what I always used to describe as closing the loop. There's a danger in service that we're very reactive. The phone rang, this guy's unhappy, I went out, I sorted it out. But did you then follow up 3 weeks later to make sure that you had fixed it? Did we proactively go out to people after machines were delivered and say, okay, you've now had the machine 3 weeks. Anything else I can tell you about it? What do you find? What's good? What's bad? Any, you know, it's like proactiveness and then closing the loop on any issues that you've got. It's basic stuff, to be honest. I mean, most of business is basic. People make it more complicated than it is. It's not. You've just got to do the basics right.
Yeah, a lot of people forget though, don't they? They make it about themselves.
Well, to my mind, it's all about closing that loop. Did you close the loop? Did you make sure that you had not fixed the machine, but fixed the customer? And if you close the loop each time, you end up with happy customers.
Yeah.
It really is that simple. But it all comes back to that focus on customer. You should come to work every day thinking, what can I do to make my customers happier?
Yeah.
And if that's your attitude as you come to work, you're going to focus on the right things, you're going to do the right things. If you come to work every day thinking, how do I make my shareholders happy? You might be able to do it short term. But long term, you'll disappoint your shareholders because you'll lose your customers.
Very good. Very good. It's something that I do. This whole process for me is about adding value to our students of the African Turf Academy in the industry. And just while I'm doing nothing at home, waiting for this to pass, this is what I thought, to try and add value to our customers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. A couple of random questions. What are your favourite parts about the golf industry?
I think the sociability of it.
Okay. And your least favourite part?
Snootiness.
Snootiness.
It is not an honour for me to go and play a golf course. Golf should be a service industry.
Yeah.
And the sooner we lose this attitude of, oh, it is a great privilege for you to come and walk and play this golf course, the better. It's not. It's a service industry, and it should act like a service industry.
I believe you've joined a fairly small golf club in the UK after being a member, a fairly exclusive one in America. I got that inside information from one of your friends. Have you know? Did you do that for that reason? Is it to be more relaxed at the club, or?
Well, so there's such a vast gulf between the American golf experience and the most 90% of the UK golf experience. But the reason for that is money. I mean, you know, be a member of a good country club in America will cost you $800 a month. You know, to be a member over here is £1,000 a year. It's a vast difference, and so, you know, you can't really compare the two in that way. I must admit, the main reason I have joined where I have is geography. I mean, it's right local to me. I live. There's a bell you ring. So when you play the first, it's slightly blind. If you're long enough, it's blind at the end. And so there's a bell you ring to show the guys on the first fairway that you're, or first tee, that you're clear. I can hear the bell from my garden.
Yeah, lovely.
So that is part of it. But it's a lovely little course. It's a, you know, it's a more casual, relaxed atmosphere in many ways. But I have to say, I did love golf in the States as well.
Okay.
It's a different experience, and I loved it as well.
Okay, so going forward now in the with the industry, as we're faced with this crisis, what do you think is going to happen with machinery, with getting us out of it? I don't want to talk about the virus. I'm just talking about what do you think is going to happen with machinery going forward? I'm more talking about, do you think it's going to become more automated? Is it going to run on GPSs, so we're not going to have to touch anything anymore? What do you see going forward?
I don't think that's going to happen immediately. I think the thing that's going to happen immediately is the way we provide equipment will change rather than the equipment itself. You know, realistically, changing a machine is a 3-year project. So if you've got something where you've specifically said to yourself, because of the coronavirus, I'm going to develop this machine, realistically, you're probably not going to see that for 3 years anyway. I think what's changed today is, I mean, like we've launched here, I do a series of virtual demos. So I take a product to well, actually, it's a paddock near where I live, and we video it, and we, in essence, do it exactly the same as I would do a video if I came to your facility. And we put them online, and we've sold machines off the back of that. People have seen the video, they've ordered it, and we've then been able to deliver that out. We spray the machine with disinfectant, we do all the training online, and we can deliver that machine safely and securely and responsibly to an end user. So I think those methodologies for getting the product to the customer and the way you market it will change quickly. I think that will change quickly in response to the virus. I think as you look at machinery, we are gradually edging towards electric, and we are gradually edging towards automated. I think these will all come in stages rather than as a big bang. But there's no question that if that sweep of movement towards electric and automotive and automatic comes in other industries, it will come in ours. You know, I always look at it. You can judge where technology is going to come from based on volume. And you know, there's, I forget the number, but let's say it's 30 million cars a year are built. You know, so there's 30 million cars a year built. Well, any technology that goes into the automotive space, therefore, becomes cheap and reliable very quickly because of the volumes. So generally speaking, you're going to see it happen in cars first. Then you could look at agriculture, because there's, you know, 3 million tractors a year sold in the agricultural space. Once it's live and current and that, then you come down to our space, golf, let's say, and there's only, you know, 3,000 machines sold a year. So you're never going to, you know, we always talk about R&D, research and development. Well, there's nobody in this golf space that does research. You can't afford it. The industry is too small. What you do is development, and take technology that already exists in automotive or agriculture, and you develop it for golf. And that's how it's got to be, just because of the different sizes of the industries that we trade in. So I think you can look at what's happening with cars and agriculture, and then add 5 years,
Okay.
and then you're getting golf.
So it's going to be a while yet.
I think you're going to see it around the edges, but at the moment, I think it's going to be a while.
Okay. All right. I just want to talk about Zeki. What is the difference between, for those of you who are watching or watch after this has been broadcast on our IGTV, what is Zeki? What do they specialize in? What do they do differently from Jacobsen and so on in terms of
Yeah.
machinery?
Sure. So Zeki, obviously based in Japan, and they're a medium-sized company, I'd say. It's sort of between 1 and 2 billion euro in revenue, somewhere around about there. They're not massive. They're not John Deere sized, but they're a decent-sized company. Very vertically integrated. We make our own gearboxes, we make our own engines, all that kind of stuff. So not an assembler, if you like. I was very much at Jake. We were an assembler. We bought an engine, we buy hydraulic motors, and we design the rest of the machine around those. So this is kind of more, what we describe as vertically integrated. I mean, I think the big standout features of the products, we don't do any reel mowers, so no reel mowers. So if I look at Jake, pretty much all, 90% is reel mowers. We don't do any reel mowers. We're very known for the collection of grass, and that's specifically down to the way the machines are designed, that they cut and collect better than pretty much anything else out there. So in the mowing space, we're known for cut and collect performance. And then on the tractor side, obviously we make tractors as well. The big thing is the power to weight ratios are very, very good. So the lift you can get on the back. So if you take, for example, something you know well, Andrew, say a big 2-meter vertigrain or 2.1-meter Biedermann, you're going to have to hang that on the back of a tractor. Well, actually, the power required to turn the crank isn't that much. It's the power that's required to lift it, because those things are really heavy, that actually determines the size of the tractor you need. So the PTO is going to have plenty of power. It's how much power you need to actually be able to lift it. And some of our competitors for that would need an 80 horsepower tractor to be able to lift one of those. We can do that with a 49 horsepower tractor, just because of the way the back end's designed, that we can get much better lift capacity in that lot. So, I always think, you've got to have it in your mind. What is it? What is the unique, what's your USP? And for us on our mowers, it's cut and collect, best performance that there is. I'd put our machines against any others in the world. Just run them side by side and you just see which one you think is best. I'd be very happy to stick that on my website against any machine in the world. And then on the tractor side, really, it's that power to weight ratio. The lift that we get at the back end, which is usually the determining, if you like, the bottleneck as to what size of tractor you need, is driven by that lift capacity. And we're very, very strong in that area.
Okay, and did you bring Zeki into the UK, or was it there before you took it over?
Well, funnily enough, I've had a relationship with Zeki for many, many years. So Zeki used to be distributed over here by Massey Ferguson, and actually, when I was at Jacobsen, we pitched for the business to bring Zeki to Jacobsen. That is back in 93, 94, somewhere around about there. So I was part of that group that pitched for the business there, and we bought Zeki to Jacobsen. And then obviously it was with Jacobsen over here in the UK for 20 odd years. But they've gradually been looking at it. They want to get closer to their customers. They've been in big markets, tending now to own their own distribution. So they bought the distributor in France. They own a chunk of the distributor in Germany, very similar to here. And they just wanted a company that was completely dedicated to Zeki, rather than like a bolt-on for a big manufacturer like Jake was. So yeah, they wanted to make it more independent, and I was available, and we've known each other for 25 years.
Okay, but it's not in South Africa yet, I believe.
No, I've actually got 2 companies I'm talking to down there, that we are looking to start it going down there. Yeah.
Okay, who are they? CSE?
I can't really say actually,
Okay.
but there's 2 companies.
Okay, we'll move on. All right, so now let's go to my customers, the students. What advice would you want to give them for entering the golf industry, the turf industry? Have you got any pointers for them?
Sure. I mean, the thing I would work on is communication. So I look at the guy who's got the job as, the superintendent at Augusta, and compare him with the guy who's the superintendent at a little 9-hole golf course, with a budget of 50 grand a year somewhere else in the world. probably agronomically, there isn't much difference between the skill sets of those two superintendents. The difference will be communication. Can you communicate with your members, with your staff, or with your colleagues, as they will be when you start work? And can you make that difference? I don't think, generally speaking, I think everybody gets the agronomy. I'm not saying it's easy, because I don't know how to do it, but I think everybody can learn the agronomy. Everybody can get to a level of agronomic understanding. They can look at a golf course and say, okay, right, that needs more aeration, and then we need to 30 cut, and we need to overseed, we need to spray with primo, we need to do, people get that, right? And with a bit of experience and the knowledge that you guys give them, they'll learn that. What will differentiate how far they go will be their communication skills and their leadership skills.
You see that, but even the guys that I've chosen is probably not the right word, but I've asked to come on this show are the ones who I've got to know over the years in the industry because of communication. So your name becomes more visible, and you are more well known. So when it comes to choosing jobs, your name is floating around.
Absolutely. Well, I know you had Craig on, didn't you, from Glen Eagles?
Yeah.
And what a great communicator Craig is. And you can see how he's got these incrementally more senior roles. Because
it's amazing how often his name pops up in these conversations when he's not on. His name almost comes up every day.
Yeah.
So I hope he's listening, because he's getting a lot of compliments on this.
So to my mind, that's what it is. I think you got to get that underlying base of understanding the agronomy and knowing how to do that, and then after that, you've got to work on your communication and leadership.
Mm. And communication is getting easier and easier these days. I mean, you can get on your social media and get your name out there fairly easily. So there's no excuses. There's
not. But a lot of it comes down to work. I mean, it's like public speaking. If you want to be good at public speaking and be able to kind of do that effortless public speaking, where you just stand up in front of 100 people and say, most of the people who are really good at that worked really, really hard at it to begin with, and they knew how to do it, they understood how to do it, and they built confidence, and they gradually got to the point where they were really good at doing it. It doesn't come automatically.
How do you get good at that? I don't think I've got good at that.
Practice.
Public speaking.
Practice.
Keep doing it. Keep putting yourself out there.
Yeah. I mean, I think, I've done a lot of it over the years, and when I first started doing it, I would work really, really hard at making sure that I was fully prepared and had everything nailed down before I'd want to stand up and speak. I have to say, in later years, I'd wing it. I'd be much more confident to just stand up and speak. The other thing is, it totally depends on what you're speaking about. I think it's so easy. Well, it's not easy, but it's so much easier when you're standing up in front of people and you know more about what you're talking about than anybody in this audience.
Yeah, I've got a funny phenomenon when I public speak is I hear my voice differently and it distracts me. I don't know, when you hear your voice, when it's recording and it sounds different?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I get that when I'm talking in front of people, and it's weird. But Howard's one saying personal presentation also has to be learned.
Yeah, it's true.
Presentation sells, as they say.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the thing, if you going back to what we were talking about your students, where they're going, if you look at the amount of hours they're going to put into learning the agronomy, to really differentiate themselves, they probably need to put almost a similar amount of hours into understanding leadership, communication, presentation skills, and all the rest of it. They're going to be the guys who do that, will be the guys who end up in those jobs at Sun City and Fancourt and those high places.
Absolutely. Okay, so seeing as Howard's watching, I just wanted to ask you about the little golf course outside the factory at Jaconsen. I know it was your idea and you brought him in to do it. Do you think he did a good job?
Yeah, he did. I like Howard. He's done a good job there over the years, and it's a lovely little story. That is, when you look at it. I always say people used to come around and look around the factory and they might forget everything they saw in the factory, but they won't forget they played a 3-hole round of golf inside an industrial estate. And it was just a lovely experience. It was great for the workers. Everybody enjoyed it. Yeah, it was one of those ones I actually snuck in. It was when I was MD of Ipswich, and I snuck in without the Americans knowing about it. And yeah, but we got away with it.
Yeah, I played it a few times. It was good fun. It was good fun. All right, favorite golf courses? Favorite golf course in the world that you played?
Pebble.
Pebble. Better than Augusta?
I have, without wanting to blow my own trumpet, I have actually played Augusta, which is stunning. Obviously amazing. But I love Pebble Beach.
Okay, good. Just going back to mentorship, did you have a mentor in your career as you were progressing? And how a lot of the guys I talk to on the show here, or I call it a show, have had mentors and they have found it valuable. Did you have that experience?
I didn't really know, to be honest. I think I've learned something from everybody I worked for. There's a lot of experiences that I had and the knowledge that I gained from looking at how they handle things. I wouldn't have been able to do what I did if I hadn't had that help from them. But I've never really had anybody all the way through my career who I've had, if you like, that mentor relationship with. But I've always looked at, the people I work for, the people I work with, seen what I admire, and seen what I can learn from how they do things. And generally pick up different things from different people.
Okay, so that's about it from me, David. Thank you for your time. Just a couple of quick questions. USA or UK to live?
UK.
UK. And sea or countryside?
Countryside.
Okay. All right, good. All right, thanks very much for your time. I know you're a busy man. So I really appreciate you coming on and just sharing some of your wisdom with us, and hopefully our students can learn from it and anyone else who's watching. So I really appreciate it, and hopefully we can do it again sometime in a few months.
Sure, happy to. Pleasure. No, nice talking to you all, and thanks, Andrew, and good luck to all of your students there at the African Turf Academy.
Okay. All right, David. Thank
all
you
the
very
best.
much. Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.